customized needs, right? Trying to understand what they're trying to accomplish and help them figure out which products of ours can help them do that. And I'm very lucky today that we're joined by GED Testing Service. Scott, you want to introduce you?
Yeah, buenos dias. Scott Salas's GED Testing Service. I've been with GED Testing Service since 2011, so it's been quite a while. Happy to be here today as co-presenting with Deanna on this session, and I'll talk a little bit more coming up. Do you want them? Do you want the mic? No. Oh, okay. All right, so I just want to talk a little bit here about GED testing in Spanish, some data that I hope you'll find interesting here. So I just want to kick it off with, let's put a little context around the, how many people are testing in Spanish and some other relevant data. So this shows over the path from 2021 through 2024, the amount of people taking the GED test in Spanish. So you'll see it's an upward curve to the right. So certainly in 2021, testing overall was a little bit lower because it was still kind of that heart of the pandemic time. But certainly over the last few years, the amount of people taking the GED test in Spanish is going up. In 2021, about 14,000 individuals across the U.S. took the GED test in Spanish. Last year in 2024, about 27,000 did. So really doubled over that time frame. And that includes people who took all 4 parts of the GED test in Spanish and people who combined taking some parts in English, some parts in Spanish. The vast majority of people test either entirely in English or entirely in Spanish. There's a pretty small population who mix subject areas in terms of the language. These are the pass rates for 2024 by subject and overall for those who took the GED test in Spanish. So just like those who are taking the GED test in English, math is the biggest struggle. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone in here that math is the biggest struggle. Language arts is usually the second lowest pass rate, which it is here. Science and social studies really for years have had the highest pass rates. And overall, the pass rate in 2024 for those who tested in Spanish was 66%. So a little bit of info here on the left-hand side of the screen. So overall in the U.S., about 9% of individuals took the GED test in Spanish in 2024. Or again, some of those mixed, but it's really a small amount of people who mixed Spanish and English. With that said, that's a national statistic. Clearly, in certain states, it's significantly higher than that. So if you see in California there, 21% of GED tests were delivered in Spanish in California, 12% in Texas, 12% in New York, and 9% in Florida, just to call out some of the states who have a significantly, a larger Spanish-speaking population. On the right-hand side there, this is overall all individuals who took a GED test in 2024. 28% self-identified as Hispanic Latino. For the next bullet is just for those people who took the GED test in Spanish. So the median age for those people was 32, which is older than the average GED test taker. If you just look at the average age of a GED test taker, it's 24 years old. So it skews a bit older for those who are testing in Spanish. It's 32. So that's a significant difference of 8 years. The final bullet there on the right-hand side, for those that tested in Spanish, 92% tested at a testing center and 8% took the online GED test. So vast majority are going to a testing center to test. I think this is my final slide from the data. On the left-hand side, we ask students, what's their reason for taking the GED test, and they can select more than one. But the 2 most common responses for, and this was for people who tested in Spanish, just I know it says that at the top, but just to make sure. Educational gain and personal gain were the 2 reasons most commonly given for why people were testing, followed by work-related. For those that tested in Spanish, 63% said they attended adult education classes. That is high. That is significantly higher than the just the overall GED testing population, where approximately 35% of those go to adult ed. So really, it's significantly higher. I mean, basically 2 out of 3 individuals who tested in Spanish are saying they went to adult education classes. And on the right-hand side, it definitely skews female for those who tested in Spanish. Pretty big delta between females and males. So, 58% of those who tested in Spanish were female, 37% male, and 5% declined to answer. So certainly skews female. All right. Deanna, am I now next? Are these mine too, or sort of introducing? Okay, got it. Yeah, so GED Testing Service chose Aztec software as our only preferred provider for Spanish language materials. And really what that means is our assessment team reviewed the various Spanish language materials that are put out there by publishers, and we selected Aztec softwares. We thought theirs was really the best Spanish language material, and that's why we refer to them as our only preferred partner for Spanish language materials. So we're really happy with that. Aztec's been a great partner to work with. We have a terrific relationship, very collaborative. So we're really happy with it and happy to be here to talk about it. I think this is, do you want to jump in here? I think so. Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes? Okay, because it doesn't sound like it to me.
All right,
Anyway.
slides. You just tell me when to move to them.
Okay. So how many of y'all are familiar with Aztec? Anybody? How many of y'all knew that Aztec has software and print from non-reader through GED in Spanish? Yes. Okay. So we have a lot to talk about today. But before we do, I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted to ask a couple of questions about some information Scott gave you actually. First, what states do we have represented? Arizona, Puerto Rico, Louisiana, New Mexico, Texas, New Jersey. Go Jersey. Our headquarters is in New Jersey, in case you didn't know, right? I've become a pseudo Jersey girl because I go up there once a year. So I'm a pseudo Jersey girl. So when Scott was talking about the data, the testing data about who was testing and the demographics and things like that, did any of that surprise you? Anything, any data he shared, was any of it surprising? Okay, y'all got to wake up. Yes, no? I heard a no. No? So pretty much, yes? Really? Okay. You thought more males would take GED than there are females. And it looks like it's leaning almost like 58%, almost 60% female. Yeah, okay. Yes, it is a lot, right? Who knows? Who knows? Y'all come on in. Come on in. Feel free to come on in. All right. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about Aztec. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Aztec, but one of the things I know a lot of people don't realize about Aztec, and I make sure I talk about it every opportunity I get. But Aztec was founded and I'm getting in front of the screen. Sorry, I'm a walker. Over 45 years ago by 2 female adult education teachers. They were in the basement of one of their houses, and some of y'all are way too young to remember this, but I've been in adult education publishing for, it's either 38 or 39 years. One of them's my work anniversary and the other's my wedding anniversary, and I can't even remember which is which. But anyway, do y'all remember the floppy disks we used to use? For those that are too young. So they were in the basement of one of their houses with the floppy disk trying to figure out how can we leverage technology in adult ed classroom. That's what led to the founding of Aztec. And for the first 30, 35 years Aztec was around, Aztec was known for being the leader in technology. We figured out a way to provide software to correctional facilities that couldn't touch the internet. So we did that long before anybody else did. We figured out ways to service programs in rural areas where they couldn't touch a web, right? So we've been developing technology and academics, and we've been known for our academics, non-reader through GED in English for a really, really long time. About 5 years ago, Aztec bought a little company called Paxson Publishing. And Paxson Publishing has all the Steck Vaughn adult education books. So if you're if you're familiar with Steck Von Adult Ed and those books, that's what Paxson had. So Paxson brought the print along to the digital, but Paxson also had something else, and that was the very first adult ed software in Spanish. Right? And we had the books in Spanish too. So that was also of interest to Aztec. And over the years, we continue to grow. Like right now, if you come by the booth, we can talk to you about IET because we have added certifications to the same platform. We have GED in, and we teach life skills and work maturity. So if you want to offer all the parts of an IET program, we have that too. But today we're here to talk about Spanish resources, and we're focused on that. Okay, Scott. Thank you. Go ahead. Yes. All right. So about, was it 4 years ago, Scott, that we partnered with the GED Testing Service to release Spanish GED?
I believe so, approximately.
About 4 years ago. And that was overwhelmingly successful. Do you know why? Because there hadn't been very much curriculum in Spanish for adult ed before that. And there was a huge appetite. People were asking us constantly, and it was number one on our list. We need more resources in Spanish. And the GED test is available to take in Spanish. We were not the first to market with it, though, because we were a little slower. You know why? We went and hired a Spanish team. We hired people who were subject matter experts. We hired people who work with students on a daily basis to help prep them to take the GED test in Spanish. That we put together a team to develop our materials in print and in software because we wanted to build it from the ground up. We wanted it to have audio that was correct. We wanted it to do everything we wanted it to be and needed it to be able to do. We wanted to do it right. Started out with the GED, right? But then we got so much feedback from people all across the country with how excited they were to have that resource that they needed more. So that was the beginning of our journey. So this is a continuum of learning for Aztec, for digital. So if you're familiar, you'll see where we've got all the English that goes from non-reader through GED, but you'll also see some Spanish. And we'll talk about some of the other things along the way too, like digital literacy in Spanish and things like that. Okay, Scott. All right, so let's start with print. If you come to the booth, and what we're going to give away today is some print, okay? So we start with our fundamental skills. We have it in English and we have it in Spanish both. It goes from non-reader up to 5.9. It focuses on math and reading and language. Okay, those are the three we're trying to do. Then we move into pre-GED, and that's 6.0 to 8.9. One of the things that's important about pre-GED is we set it up to work just like our GED program. It has 4 different subject areas, just like the GED test does. Let me ask you a question. Those of you who work with students who come from countries, when they're ready to go into GED, are they familiar with social studies prerequisites that are normally taught 6.0 to 8.9? No, they're not, right? And so if you put them, even if they're at the right reading level, if you put them straight into a GED prep program, they're going to struggle. And they're going to struggle in social studies in particular because they don't have those prerequisites. There are some things we all learn in the United States just by living here when we're growing up, like every 4 years is an election because we see the debates on TV and we see the signs, and right, there are things that you learn. It's really important for us to make sure for students that come from other countries that they have those prerequisite skills in place before they go into a GED program. And that's true for all 4 subject areas. That's true for math, that's true for RLA, that's true for science. But what we have found in working with a lot of our clients across the country, it's uber important for that in social studies, okay? So anytime you're planning a GED program, whether it's in English or Spanish, please take a minute to think back about those prerequisite skills that you know students are going to need to build upon, and thus to make sure that they understand those, and that's that pre-GED area. And then in print, we have GED, and we have it in all 4 subject areas in Spanish. We have a student book and a workbook, and a lot of people don't even know we have an instructor's edition. We have that available in Spanish too. How many of you employ teachers who primarily speak Spanish? That's why we developed the instructor's edition in Spanish. This has an instructor's edition in Spanish. This does too, because it's easier for our teachers if that's their primary language. Is it hot in here? Is it hot? Is it just me? Okay, never mind. It's my own internal flame. It's fine. I'm just very bright, y'all. Anyway, that I was going to say if it was not just me, I was going to see if Alan could make it a little cooler, but it's not. So we have instructors editions in Spanish too, and I think it's really important to provide those to your teachers if they're going to use these materials, because it'll be easier for them to use if Spanish is their primary language. Okay, Scott. So now on the digital side, last year we released pre-GED in Spanish for the software, as well as ABE and Espanol, that goes all the way down to non-reader. But then we also released something called the locator test. Does anybody here use Aztec on the English side? Have you used the locator test? Yes. We use the locator test to place a student in a class when you don't know where to place them. Well, one of the overwhelming pieces of information as part of feedback that we got from teachers once we released GED in Spanish was that you needed a test in Spanish to give your students to figure out, are they GED ready, or do they need to be in the pre-GED class, or do they need to be in ABE and Espanol? What are y'all using right now? Do you have a test in Spanish you're using? What are you using? Who said yes? Yes? You give them the GED? Oh, and get the GED ready? Okay, that's one way to do it. We have some students, though, that people think for sure probably aren't GED ready yet, and they need a way to place them. Are they pre-GED or are they ABE and Espanol? You can give them the locator test in Spanish to determine which class they need to go into, right? Because one of the things we've got to be careful about is we don't want to frustrate our students, do we? And we don't want them to feel like they're testing just for testing, right? So we have to be careful about how much we test them, right? So we can give the locator test, which is a shorter test to let you know which of the classes your student needs to go into to start prepping. Okay, Scott. So we'll talk about GED Prep. We're the only preferred partner of GED Testing Service. Go next, please. So GED, in case our GED digital program, we built it from scratch like we were talking about. We have audio that's built in. That audio is all in Spanish. You'll hear male voices, female voices, different things like that, but they're going to have that's audio support as well as they're working through. And that's going to help them not only support them, but help keep them engaged, right? So one of the things we need to do is really work on engagement for our students to feel like they're making progress. Next. So this is our methodology. This is the way it's going to work for the GED in Spanish, the same way it's going to work for pre-GED in Spanish, and the same way it'll work for ABE and Espanol. We break those areas down into units with objectives and skills. And the first thing we do in a unit is give a pretest that's maybe 40, 45 questions to figure out what they know and don't know. We create an individualized educational plan for each student based on what they don't know, right? So let me ask you this. I used to work for a company, and they shall remain nameless, but their GED math pretest was 156 questions long because it tested every math skill that the GED could possibly test. What do our students do when we give them a test that's 156 questions long? Panic, yes. Cry, they get frustrated. I have found that usually after they hit question between 50 and 60, they start Christmas treeing it because they're like, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I don't want to do this anymore. So we're just going to make a Christmas tree and make an outline and be done, right? So if we know that the second half or second two-thirds or the last two-thirds of the test, it does not give us good diagnostic information, let's just shorten it by unit and let's just give a pretest for each unit, create an individualized educational plan for that unit, and then we can do the same thing when it's time for the next unit. We get better diagnostic information that way. Make sense? Right? But I had to tell the academic people in our company that because I was like, yeah, it's not working. Then we provide instruction. We have lessons. We have skills practice. We want them to apply the skills they've learned to make sure they understand them. And then at the end of each unit, we have a post-test. You know, for a lot of our students, they come to adult education with what I've always called educational baggage because they have test anxiety, they have fear of education, they have fear of high-stakes tests. They have a lot going on, right? So one of the reasons they have all that is because at some point in school, the teacher was teaching the class a skill, and then the class moved on, and maybe our students were still stuck at that first skill and hadn't quite figured it out, but the class had moved on, and the class kept moving on, and our students still stuck back over here. I don't want that to ever happen to one of our students again. So let's give them a post-test in this unit. Let's make sure they understand everything in this unit before we go to the next one, right? Now we're building on top of building blocks that are stable and secure and have a great foundation. Okay, Scott, thank you. One more. All right, so these are the GED print books, and you'll see there's a student book and a workbook, and that's what we've got in these bags in different subject areas. The student book is what the student starts in. They have a 2-page micro lesson because for our students, sometimes they might just need to be reminded or refreshed about something. They might know it, but you know, they haven't used it in a while. So they sit and they go, oh, okay, 2 pages, good, I'm done. If they get to one of those and they've never been taught that, or it still doesn't make sense and they need further instruction, then they go to the workbook. The workbook's going to give them twice as much instruction. It's going to present the material in a different way if that's possible, might even be on a little bit lower reading level. And there's additional practice. So there's always practice in the student book, but there's additional practice in the workbook. So the way it works is the students in here all the time, they only go here where if they need additional instruction or additional practice. Okay, that's how you use the books. And then the instructor's edition provides optional activities for teachers to extend and enrich the lesson if you want to. You don't have to, but you can if you want to, including real-world connections. Like, have you ever been asked, what am I going to do in life where I have to use percentages? Well, have you ever been in a dress store where there's a sale rack that says 50% off? And then there's another sign on top of it that says today only additional 25% off. Have you been there, done that? Are you doing that in your head, the math? Because I am, because I'm trying to figure out how much this top's going to cost, right? But I've also heard people get into arguments with the cashier because they're thinking it should be what? 75% off, right? Instead of 50% and then 25%, right? Right. So that's a context of how we use it in real life. So we've got that available as well. This has all been reviewed by a third party, and we're 100% content aligned by the GED Testing Service. Next, please, Scott. So this is the student book, the workbook, and there's just a blow up of the instructor's edition. Okay, next. EPUBs. How many people know that in adult education we now have ebooks available? Right? So it happened during COVID, actually. Anybody familiar with a Job Corps Center? Have you heard of those before? Job Corps Centers, students from 16 to 24, and they live on site most of the time, and they're there for 2 years, and they're supposed to help get their GED and then get a vocational certificate. Well, during COVID, they come from all over the country, and during COVID, they got sent home. And they they were going to connect with their students digitally, but guess what? Most of their students didn't have good internet connectivity. Shocking, right? Do all your students have good internet connectivity? So I got calls from people going, Deanna, we can't send each person 12 books. We can't connect with them digitally. What are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And then I sat down to read a book on my Kindle and went, oh, could we do ebooks? So we did. So now our GED books in English and in Spanish, and our pre-GED books in English and in Spanish, are all available as ebooks, right? So students can access those from their phone, from their tablets, from their computer. And sometimes you might have students who really want to use books and they're really not ready to go into digital yet. The ebooks are a great stepping stone because it gets them in the platform, but the books look just like the books and they turn the page, but it gets them starting to use digital, and then you can move them in full-blown digital later. Next, please. We even created pre-test and post-test on paper too. Sometimes you might want to know what a student knows and what they don't know. So in Spanish, we have one pre-test for every subject area, one post-test for every subject area, an answer key that lets you know which ones they got right, why they got the ones wrong, and so you can help create that individualized educational plan if you want to, figuring out what else you need to work on. So you've got those and can use those in the classroom. Do you know how most people that buy those from us use them though? Have you ever had to talk a student into taking the GED test in math? Say, no, you're ready. And they're telling you they're not. And you're like, you're ready. Have you ever had to do that? Yes. So one of the things you can do is give them the post-test. We have them in English too, English and Spanish both. Give them a pre-test, post-test, let them score and do well, and you can go see. So it's a confidence builder. It gets their confidence up. One of the things that we really have to work on with our students is getting their confidence level up so that when they go take that test, they do as well as they possibly can. And we've got actually a really great program for that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. These are our pre-GED books. You can see all 4 subject areas and the instructor's edition. We'll go next. And this is the Fundamental Skills series in Spanish. This goes for your students that are between non-reader and 5.9. So these books go non-reader to 5.9. Pre-GED picks up at 6th grade, goes to 8.9. GED picks up at 9th grade and goes to 12.9. We have that in print and we have it in digital as well. Okie doke. All right. So now we're going to talk about some of our GED supporting products that we have created, again, with the GED Testing Service. So I want to talk about GED Flash. Has anybody used GED Flash in English? Has any, okay, couple hands. Are y'all familiar with what GED Flash is? Yes. I would say, and I could be wrong, Scott, but I think this is the most popular joint product we've ever created.
It is.
And one of the reasons I think it's so popular is because GED did a survey and asked students, what would you like to have to prep to take the GED test that you currently don't have? You know what the #1 response was? What? It was practice. We want a practice tool. We want a way to be able to practice. Part of that is, think about it, if I'm a student and I've got test anxiety, and this is a high stakes test, I want to see more of the questions, right? So we worked with GED Testing Service. We created a database of 6,000 questions that they vetted. They're broken up by subject area, but these are the kinds of questions you could potentially see on a GED test. And we ask students to respond the same way they're going to be asked to respond on the GED test. Now, we give it to students just 10 questions at a time in a subject area, right? Because it's just 10 questions at a time, we have students that are doing it on their break at work, on the way home. I told me the other day that did some Marvel movie come out recently? I mean, they're always coming out. So one of those, he was like, I was in line for the whatever movie, and I was sitting there doing them there because we were waiting, right? And I could do 10 at a time. It's really easy. So it does a couple of things. It exposes our students to the kinds of questions they're going to see, and guess what? It makes them feel more comfortable with it, right? You, as a teacher on the backside, can get the information of what they got right, what they got wrong, so you know what you need to teach them based on that information. But one of the interesting things is what else it does for our students, and that is it builds confidence. Next slide.
Yeah, I'll just say, building off what you said, we surveyed students, the #1 response of what they wanted more of was practice questions. They said, you know, we GED ready, good, but we want more, basically, is what they were looking for. So this is GED Flash for the subject areas, and I'm going to fall and take everything down with me. They get immediate feedback so they know what's going on, but this is the kicker. Next slide. Okay, next slide. It's just changing the screen. Go ahead, one more time. There we go. Do you know what the pass rate is for a GED test? I know you know that. What is it? Pass a section of the GED test is what? 145. Do you know what currently
The average non-passing GED score is nationwide. It's 141. So we have this group of students right now in the country that are hovering at 140, 141, 142, 143. You're shaking your head. You feeling that, right? Got to give them, and I had it described to me as got to get them over that hump, right? So GED Testing Service did 2 efficacy studies in math and found out that if students would do 10 sets of 10 in a subject area, so 100 questions in one subject area, they could increase their score on the test in that subject area by up to 4 points.
That takes you from a 141 to a passing score of 145.
And that's in math. So if I can get that in math, then my brain, my first thing was, you know what I can do in reading, RLA, and science and social studies? We're going to talk about that in just a minute because I have a great announcement. Been working on this for years. Okay, next. Because there is one other thing I want to tell you about GED Flash, and that is 79% of students feel more confident taking the GED test after they've worked in Flash. So one of my theories is that after they work in Flash, because they've seen the questions and they've responded and they're like, that's what's going to be on the test, that they feel more confident when they go to take the test. And if I feel more confident when I go to take the test, what's going to happen? My scores are going up, right? So if nothing else, GED Flash makes our students feel more confident. I believe if our students feel more confident, they're automatically going to score better, right?
I mean, that's a major thing. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all that. I mean, we have students all the time who take a GED ready and they score 145 or higher and they refuse to go in and test because they still don't think they're going to pass.
Right. We'll go next.
So don't discount confidence.
No, I'm all about the confidence. So for the past, I don't know how many years now, we've been asked for GED Flash in Spanish, right? And our response before last year was, we got to get curriculum out first. We got to get GED Spanish out. We got to get GED pre-GED Spanish out. We got to get ABE and Espanol out. We got to do the locator test because that's the curriculum you need to move your students through the educational pipeline, right? But now that we did all that and got it released last March, now we're working on GED Flash and Espanol that will be coming out this year. Okay. Yay! Next slide. So I even got some screenshots. You don't know what I had to go through to do this. So y'all need to enjoy because I got it this morning. And I was dropping them in. So this one is language arts. And this is like what you're going to see on the GED test. So there's a question, there's a graphic, there are your choices, and that one's a sample for language arts. Let's go to the next screen. Another one from language arts where there's things they have to read at the top. There's a chart they have to read. Next, please. This one is from social studies. A passage for them to read, a question that they're asked, and 4 choices. And should be one more. Science. So you got a science one there for Flash. I think that's it, but push one more. Oh, there's math. There's math. Math is the longest one to develop. Do you know why? Yeah, I'll tell you why. The letter Y in Spanish means, but when you're doing algebra and you have X, Y squared, right? So we have to be super, super careful and make sure all the everything's written out. They go to put it in software. They have to do special things for the Y and stuff like that. You have a question? It is a universal Spanish. It's a universal formal Spanish is what the academic team has told me. It is not Castilian. It is not a certain dialect. It is formal universal that's used in publishing books. Mm-hmm. Spanish in another Spanish. So you can start at the lowest level non-reader and go through and teach them that, or you can start them on the English side and go through, because we go as low level as both. Yes, yes, yes. Next, please, Scott. Okay, this one's yours.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I have to, now we're at a conference, so I will have to plug our conference. So has anyone here attended our GED Testing Service annual conference before? We have it every summer, typically in July. This year it's in August. Anyone here ever attended? Okay, well, one person has. Okay, well, great. We have people who haven't attended. So every year we have our annual conference. It is largely geared towards adult educators, but not exclusively towards adult educators. But there's certainly going to be a lot of sessions for adult educators. There will be sessions for people who are more on the testing side of things. There will be specific sessions for corrections. We have some workforce development sessions as well. And year, Lisa, how many sessions did we have last year that were actually delivered in Spanish? At least one or two? 3 sessions last year were actually, the entire session was delivered in Spanish. Yeah, thank you. And we're probably planning that again? Okay, excellent. So there will be some Spanish sessions that are delivered in Spanish as well. So it is in August this year, first week of August at the Hilton Chicago. If anyone's interested, there is more information on our website. You can read all about it, about registration, type of sessions that will be offered. And I have to pat us on the back and say reviews of the session have been very good. People say it have been well worth their time and effort to attend. So if anyone's interested, I just would encourage you to look at the website. If you want to come by our table, we have certainly brochures and some flyers about the conference. So we'd love to see some of you there.
Thank you, Scott. I want to mention a couple of other resources that are available in Spanish that aren't specifically for GED prep, but I want you to be aware of them to be able to serve your students. And there's my, it's got Rafa's email address. If you have a question, you can email Rafa since it doesn't have mine. But digital literacy is one. How many of y'all teach digital literacy? Nobody? Digital literacy, a couple hands. Okay, so we developed a digital literacy product. We looked at teaching skills that matters, digital literacy, as well as the North Star assessment, and we make sure we teach all of that. We released that last year in Spanish as well, so that not only teaches your students some basic information about computers, but it does introductions to PowerPoint, Excel, Word. It teaches them about how to look things up on the computer. It teaches them about what should and shouldn't be on social media, things like that. So we have that available. We also have life skills in Spanish, and our life skills product has 225 titles that cover everything from parenting to pre-employment, work maturity, Veterans Affairs, different things like that. We have 100 currently in Spanish, and we're working to get the others finished as well. So we will continue adding to our Spanish resources in print and digital both, so that will be available for you in the future. Alan, I'm going to ask you now to take up everybody's cards, and while you're doing that, would be a great opportunity if you have a question that we can answer for you, either Scott or myself, while he's picking up cards from folks. Any questions?
Can I ask
Yes.
you?
I think they're different. I believe they're different, yes. We can check on that at the booth, though. We can go back and ask, or somebody at the booth can ask. Any other questions? Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Flash in Spanish is going to be available in third quarter. So either July, August, or September, somewhere in there. I don't have the exact month yet, but if you contact me and then like within 2 months, what is this, March? Like at the end of May, I should know more specifically which month it's going to be available. Yeah, but we're very excited about it. You can pre-order it. I was asked that question earlier. Yes, you can pre-order it. You can go ahead and they won't start the subscription till after it's been, delivered and trained on and all that good stuff. Yep. What other questions? Yes. So I would encourage you to come to the booth and speak with Rafa. He is our vice president, Rafa Diaz of vice president, senior vice president of operations. I can't get the new titles right. But have that conversation with him, because we've had people call in and want it in a Puerto Rican Spanish. We've had others for Mexican, all these different ones. And I know that, and he knows more than I do about what the academic side of the house did in development. So I would encourage you to have that conversation with him. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add to that, uh, if you want to stop by the GED Testing Service booth, I know a colleague of mine who was intimately involved in, when we were developing the GED test in Spanish. I feel like every time I get this question, I feel like I should have an awesome answer, and I feel like I always struggle with it a bit, but but if you want to stop by the booth, she can give you a really good answer of how our Spanish test was developed. Sure.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Anne was intimately involved. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Thanks.
come by and talk to Rafa too, because yeah, I'd like to hear what they have to say about the academic side too. I'm like you, I get that question a lot, and that's the answer is what I've been told, but I don't know the background history of it. So, any other questions? No? Okay. Waiting on a card? Got them all? Okay. All right. So here we go. We can start. Oh, that's not it. So this is Science, GED, a student book, and a workbook. In Spanish. All these are in Spanish. All of these are in Spanish. Spread them out on the table. And then I'm going to give you the mic and let you pick. Oh, huh. Well, I'll do that. So these are Science, GED, Spanish. Whoops. That's okay. Oh, Sarah Gonzalez. These are GED social studies in Spanish.
Got it.
Cassandra Lujan. Water. So this is language arts pre-GED in Spanish. So this will be the 6.0 to 8.9 range. Okay. I can't read handwriting. Puerto Rico. Rodriguez. Begins with a C. Begins with a C. Carmen. Yes, Carmen. This is RLA for GED in Spanish. Teresa Martinez. These are math GED in Spanish. Math GED. Serafina Del Toro. All right, this is math pre-GED. So this is that 6.0 to 8.9 math in Spanish. Maria Vega? This is science pre-GED in Spanish. Myra Loya? Myra Loya from El Paso, Texas? Yes.
Uh-oh.
I maybe at the booth. Maybe at the booth. Or unless you want to do this one, social studies. She can come to the booth. One more. I don't even, is this one? I didn't look. Hold on. Social studies, pre-GED, Spanish. Paola? Paola? Washington? Wow, long way. So if you didn't win, you need to come by the booth because we can't get rid of the books that are there now, but we will before we leave on Wednesday, right? We got to give them all away because we can't ship those back. And we have a whole book rack full of Spanish and some under the table as well. So if you're interested in some, come talk to me at the booth, come talk to Alan at the booth. Scott, you might be in and out of the booth. But we can get you some books, okay? Any other questions before y'all leave? I know you want to go eat lunch, right? Right. Thank you for spending time with us. If you have any questions, please let us help in any way that we can. Y'all have a great rest of your conference. Thank you.